thing. It's not a sinful thing if you choose to marry. However, I would prefer you remain single. Yo, 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 good morning, friends and family. Don't know, it's your boy Darren coming at you again with another episode of the worst relationship advice ever. You definitely should not listen. And today I am celebrating Jamaican independence. Yeah, man, Jamaica is 61 years old as of yesterday. Today is Tuesday. And so, I'm a green and black and yellow. Yeah. Celebrating Jamaican independence. And so I just wanted to put that out there that I'm very Jamaican and I love my country, and a big part of what I do here on the podcast is trying to edify and educate my Jamaican people, because I want to see more of us have happy and healthy relationships. A strong marriage is going to produce a strong family, and a strong family is going to produce a strong nation. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely what we want to cultivate here at the worst relationship advice ever. You see me? Last episode we spoke about dating, and courting and marriage, how, people transition, or how people should transition through to marriage. And that was just my perspective, my understanding of how I think things should go. In today's episode, it's entitled Dating is Rubbish. You understand? Especially if you are a marriage-minded person, you're a person who is seeking to get married. I say, just skip out the whole dating part.
So I'll just skip it if it's all the same to you.
Right? Because generally we understand that most people who are dating, they do so with the motive of trying to get to know somebody so that they can determine whether or not this person is suitable for them and whether or not they can actually live long term with this person. But imagine all the people out there who are dating with that motive, who don't even really know themselves. They haven't spent enough time with themselves, getting to know themselves, to understand what to look for in a partner. So we understand that, dating is a thing that's a part of our current day culture. And what I've been able to observe is that our dating relationships, or how we go about formulating our romantic relationships now, is exerting a lot of pressure on how we view marriage and how we go about marriage, opposed to God's biblical understanding of marriage exerting pressure on our culture, which is the way I think things should go. So, how do we fix this issue? Well, I have to think critically about it. When it comes on to dating, unfortunately, not everybody is being honest. I believe we can skip the whole dating phase of a relationship if the two people who are coming together to have a relationship are being open, honest, and transparent with each other. That can make a huge difference when it comes on to not only building and maintaining the intimacy of their relationship, but it also influence the confidence with which they can move from being friends or being strangers to friends to being married, And I encourage this because this is what we see modeled in the Bible. As I said in the last episode, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Leah, and Jacob and Rachel, they got married purely on the basis that they wanted to get married, that they saw the value in coming together and starting a family. And so it wasn't based on how many dates they went on or how long they were, seeing each other for, but rather they made a commitment to be married to one another, to start a family, and they stuck to their commitment. And so when it comes on to having a happy and healthy relationship, as I had said in the previous season, unwavering commitment is a very important aspect of the foundation of a happy and healthy relationship. When people are entering into dating relationships with a wrong motive, in that their motive is trying to, oh, let me see if I can get to know this person and see how well this person can mesh, and can we actually do this life together. It's misguided, because you're gonna spend the rest of your life getting to know this person. There's only so much you can know and know more in the dating context, because there's a whole nother level of person to get to know once you are living together. And then there's a whole nother level of person to get to know once you have children, right? And I know you've heard me say this before, that the journey of marriage is one that is ongoing and doesn't end until death do us part, and so I think it's misguided for us to have this idea that we can get to know somebody sufficiently enough to inform us that okay, yeah man, this person is safe for me to marry. No, a lot of it is faith. Yeah, I think it was Pastor Tim Ross in one of his podcasts who had said that when you say I do, you're saying I do to things that are to come. Up to this point, you've experienced certain things with your partner, you've been through some stuff with your partner, and there's certain stuff that but then there's a lot of unknown that is to come. And when you're exchanging your vows, you're saying I do to the things that are to come, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so you want to analyze your own motives for why you're seeking to entertain a romantic relationship with somebody. Now, another thing that perpetuates the dating culture is the times that we live in, the economy and education, the educational system, that also exerts pressure on how we go about our romantic relationships, as I mentioned in the previous episode, of how the industrialization of our societies has led to people now getting married later in life than we would have in biblical times, when people were full-fledged adults even though they were still teenagers. In Jewish culture, we understand that a young man comes into adulthood at his bar mitzvah, which is around when he's about 13 years old. And so now we're seeing where people are taking a longer time to have their wedding ceremony, because they're trying to get themselves sorted out, and you find that women will exert more pressure on men to get married, because they're looking at their biological clocks, while for men, on the other hand, they're looking at their financial clocks. We're like, boy, I can barely afford to take care of myself. Can I really afford to take care of myself, a wife, and children? Because once you get married, we're looking for children to come after that. And so people are opting to get married later because it's becoming increasingly more difficult to get themselves in a place of readiness. Yeah. And now, while that is the case, we still have our sexual urges, we still have our desires. We will still see somebody and feel attracted to them and want to, be in relationship with them. And so there is that tendency to want to entertain sexual relationships even though we're not legally married. And this causes a problem, because sexual intimacy is a marriage thing. You understand? It is actually the marrying act. And I'm definitely going to be going more detail with that in future episodes. But when people become sexually active, they're doing an action that is intended for a couple that is committed to one another till death do them part. Because sex is that act that is supposed to bond two people together in such a way that it's this is it. There's no separation, there's no breaking up, there's no, right? But because the dating culture has trivialized sex and has watered down the power and the importance of it, sex is now commonplace in romantic relationships, both inside and outside of the church. And people are doing it without the intention of committing. And that is what sexual immorality is. It is to indulge in sexual activity without the solid commitment behind that sexual activity. So two people coming together to become sexually active without that commitment, like they're just trying to test the waters, they're trying to see if this is a person I can work with for the rest of my life. That's a wrong motive. That's a wrong motive, and it will definitely lead to unfaithfulness. You know what I'm saying? But we have to really grasp the heart of God, where, you know, our romantic relationships are concerned, where marriage is concerned. Because once we grasp the heart of God in that manner, trust me, it will make a world of a difference. What I'm observing in today's world is that we place a lot of emphasis on the wedding ceremony, and, you know, we have our young women and our young men who are excited and they're looking forward to their wedding ceremony. They eagerly await becoming married, because, you know, we elevate marriage and we honor marriage, and really that's not a bad thing. But I believe if the church was teaching marriage in a truly biblical manner, there'd be more people who would be a bit more intimidated by it. And we actually do see that now. A lot more people are intimidated by the idea of marriage, but primarily because they see a lot of it failing. They see a lot of failure of marriages, and so that is the main thing that is intimidating people regarding marriage. But I think that intimidation is misplaced. I believe the intimidation should be coming from an intimate knowledge of what the Word of God says about marriage, right? Because we see where in Matthew 19, Jesus makes a point about marriage, and then the disciples, their response is, well, if that's the case, Jesus, it's better not to marry. And Jesus was like, yeah, well, not everybody can accept this word. For some were born to be eunuchs, some were made eunuchs by men, and some have chosen to be eunuchs for the sake of the ministry. And then we see Paul over in 1 Corinthians 7, kind of reiterate the same type of message, right? He's like, listen, I would rather you remain as I am. Yeah, I'd rather you remain as I am, single and free of obligation, where you can just focus on the Lord. However, if you are choosing to marry, just understand that you will face many troubles in this life. You will. Like, it's no if, no but, no maybe. You're gonna face many troubles in this life if you choose to marry. But you don't do a bad thing. It's not a sinful thing if you choose to marry. However, I would prefer you remain single. And that's what Paul is saying there in 1 Corinthians 7. And so, if the narrative that was put around marriage was from that type of perspective, I believe we would enter into it more soberly, more pensive, recognizing that the responsibility that we're taking onto ourselves is a big one. It's a big one. It holds a lot of weight. There's a lot of gravity to it. And so we're not taking it lightly. Because if you approach your marriage relationship the same way you approach your dating relationship, as I said in the last episode, the marriage is gonna fail. And so there's a total rewiring that needs to happen in our minds, because the culture, as I said before, is exerting pressure on what marriage is. And so you'll hear people say, we should not have sex before marriage. Or we should not live together before marriage. When what we really should be saying is we should not live together before the wedding ceremony. But we we lump the two together, wedding ceremony and marriage. And marriage is the relationship. But because of the power of the culture, we put more focus onto the symbols of the relationship. So we put more focus on the ring, or on the ceremony, or on the documentation. And yet, I get it, but that's not the heart of the issue. The heart of the issue is the relationship. This relationship will be a success or it will fail based on the positioning of the hearts of the individuals who are involved. And so that's why I say dating is rubbish. Because if you're dating with the intention that, oh, I'm trying to figure out if this person is suitable enough for me, then you're dating with a wrong motive. Yeah. The better thing to do is to commit. After you have been able to decipher whether or not you and this person is on the same page. If you're on the same page on multiple levels, you're not unequally yoked. The Bible speaks about that. Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. But I believe you can be unequally yoked on multiple levels. And just to bring some cultural context to that idea, back in the day when they used to use animals, and they probably still use animals to pull a plow. Well, no, we use tractors now, right? Yeah. But back in the day before there were tractors, they used to use animals like oxen to pull the plows, to plow the field, to plant the crops. Now, if you had one oxen that was bigger and stronger than the other oxen which they're supposed to work together as a team to pull the plow, then that would be unequally yoked. Now, if you have two oxen that are unequally yoked, one oxen is going to be carrying more weight than the other. So this oxen that is carrying more weight is being hurt. And the oxen will not walk in a straight line, but they'll probably veer to the left or to the right, depending on which side the weaker oxen is on, which is another problem for the farmer. And so ideally, you want two people who are equally yoked, pulling the plow together, working together, moving in the same direction. They're on the same mission. They have the same purpose in life. And so that's why I said in the previous episode about successful singleness, it's important for you to become very acquainted with your standards and your boundaries, right? That you know what you're about, your purpose. You know what you're about, so that whomever you're choosing to come alongside you, to be a purpose partner, a marriage partner, like both of you are on the same page and moving in the same direction, because that will help to squash a lot of conflict. And not all of us are very good at conflict resolution, which is why our divorce rates are so high. And I'm here trying to communicate to you guys in such a manner that can somehow get through to you and, make we try reduce this thing, man. Let us try to have more successful relationships. Yeah? So what I am trying to do right now in communicating to you is to rewire the thinking surrounding how we transition from strangers to friends to dating to courting to marriage. A lot of the in-between stuff is fluff, because unconditional love and unwavering commitment are of paramount importance to the longevity and the ultimate success of any marriage relationship. Now, if you are a young person who you're not really looking to get married no time soon, you want to have fun, then, I can't stop you, from dating. I can dissuade you, but I can't stop you. And all I would ask is that you be honest. Yeah, be honest about what your intentions are, what it is that you want to do. Don't paint the picture that you're about this marriage life and that's what you're really seeking to do, when that's not the case. You're just really seeking to have fun, but you don't want to paint that narrative of yourself. You want to portray yourself as who you're actually not. Don't do that. That's not cool. That's playing with people's emotions, playing with people's hearts. Be honest. If you're a guy who's seeking to have fun, there are women out there who are seeking to have fun as well. And they all can go to the movies and can date for 2, 3, 4 years and have your fun. But for people who are marriage minded and who want to be committed to one person and build a life with one person, what that really takes more than anything else is intentionality. It doesn't take a bunch of dates, going to the movies and going to dinners and going on trips and sleeping with each other with no intention of being committed. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's it from me today. Dating is rubbish, especially if you want to get married, right? What you should focus if you want to get married is, what are your values? What are your standards? Who are you? Are you comfortable with who you are? The more comfortable you are with who you are, is the better you will convey who you are to another person. Now, when you convey yourself to another person, they may accept or they may reject. If they reject, it is okay. Yes, it's gonna feel painful, especially when it's somebody who you like and you really want for your relationship to progress down a certain path. But I tell you this, as I said in the previous episode, if you have to fake it, if you have to pretend to be something you're not, just to get a person to like you and just to get a person to want to be married to you, when the facade comes off, it's gonna cause problems. It's not gonna be good. Trust is of paramount importance in any long-term relationship. And trust is fostered not only by honesty, but by safety. And safety comes in the form of when we're vulnerable with each other and we disclose ourselves to each other, we get grace and we get mercy and we get compassion. That is what makes us feel safe. But you cannot get the grace and the mercy and the compassion unless you are honest about who you are. We can only marry one person. Only one. And so you want to marry the person who you can not only trust, but who can also trust you, because you're vulnerable with them and they're vulnerable with you, and both of you create that safe space for one another to foster that friendship. So yeah, thanks again. Happy Independence, Jamaica. I love you know. Come back again next week for another episode of the worst relationship advice ever. You definitely should not listen to me. It's bare rubbish, me a chat. But you know what? I've been getting some feedback that I kind of make a little sense, right? I've been getting some positive feedback. I really appreciate those of you who have commented so far. Continue to comment, right? I'll always respond to you because I definitely want to have the conversation going. Definitely, subscribe and keep an eye out for the next episode. Blessings.